10 upon 5 minus square root of 24 under square root. We have to simplify it without using calculator. Let's try. So here in the denominator, we have a number and a radical. So let's first rationalize the denominator. For that, we will multiply and divide it by the conjugate of the denominator. Conjugate of x plus y is x minus y. Therefore, the conjugate of 5 minus square root of 24, it will be 5 plus square root of 24, and we multiply and divide by the same number so that this original number doesn't change, because when we multiply and divide by the same number, it means we are multiplying it by 1, because then we can cancel this and it is 1 and the number doesn't change. So we are not changing the question here. So 10 upon 5 minus square root of 24 times 5 plus square root of 24 upon 5 plus square root of 24 under square root, or it is 10 times 5 plus square root of 24 upon 5 minus square root of 24 times 5 plus square root of 24 under square root. So it is 10 times 5 is 50 plus 10 times square root of 24 upon, now this is in the form of a minus b times a plus b. So differences of square, we can write it as a square minus b square. So we write it as 5 square minus square root of 24 square under square root, or 50 plus 10 times square root of 24 upon 5 square is 25 minus, we remove the square root with this square, so it is 24 under square root, or 50 plus 10 times square root of 24. 25 minus 24 is 1, so we remove the denominator. Now to further simplify it, we need to remove this square root. If we can write this number in the form of a plus minus b whole square, then this whole square can remove the square root, because square root means it is raised to the power of 1 upon 2. This 2 and this 2 gets cancelled. So let's try to write it in this form. So 50 plus 10, we can write it as 2 times 5 times square root of 24 under square root, or 50 plus 2 times. Now when a is under square root, it means a is raised to the power of 1 upon 2. We know. When we square it, the exponent is also multiplied by 2. So it is equal to 2. So 5, we can also write it as square root of 5 square, and there will be no difference. It will be equal to 5. So let's write it as square root of 5 times square root of 5, and square root of 24 as 6 times 4 under square root, then all under square root, or 50 plus 2 times. Now when a under square root times b under square root, we can also write it as a times b under square root. So we can write it as 5 times 5 times 6 times 4 under square root, then all under square root, or 50 plus 2. This we can write 5 times 6 is 30. So 30 under square root times 5 times 4 is 20. So 20 under square root, then all under square root. Now 50, we can write it as 30 plus 20 plus 2 times square root of 30 times square root of 20 under square root. Now 30, we can write it as square root of 30 square, and it will be equal to 30, plus 20 is square root of 20 square plus 2 times square root of 30 times square root of 20 under square root. Now if we consider square root of 30 as a, square root of 20 as b, then it is in the form of a square plus b square plus 2ab, and it is equal to a plus b whole square. Therefore we can write it as square root of 30 plus square root of 20 whole square under square root. Now remove the square root with the square. So we have square root of 30 plus square root of 20. Now square root of 30, this we can write it as 6 times 5 under square root plus square root of 20 as 4 times 5 under square root, or it is square root of 6 times square root of 5 plus square root of 4 times square root of 5, or square root of 6 times square root of 5, and square root of 4 is 2, so it is 2 times square root of 5. Now we can take here square root of 5 common, so square root of 5 parenthesis square root of 6 plus 2. So this is our answer. How did you solve it? Let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching.